It's great to see so many of you here tonight. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about thinking ahead. I know that there are some of you that are earlier than 300 and 400 level as well, and this is absolutely relevant to you too. So it can, figuring out where you're going to go when you're not on a professional pathway degree can feel a little bit like this at times. And if you look around who's beside you, they'll be going somewhere different. And all of our grads in micro and biochem and genetics are looking at different directions. So it's how do you work that one out and not worrying about what's, in the distance there too far ahead, but thinking now at this stage just on that next step. So this is our model around making career decisions, and it's important that you have a good idea about what's going to be right for you, what's important to you, what motivates you, what are your skills, the skills that you're really good at and want to use, as I said, will be quite different to the person next to you. What is it about work that interests you? What kind of experience do you have, contacts, networks, et cetera, and pulling some themes from that so you have a better idea of the direction that you're looking in. And then going out to the labour market and looking at the sectors you could move into, the kind of jobs you could go into, the kinds of organisations that you might want to work for. It's quite hard to explore that labour market if you have no idea of what it is that you're actually looking for. So this is really the space that we work in the Career Centre. A lot of it is in helping students with that self-assessment kind of stage first, and then the next steps. And once you've got some idea of what's there in the labour market, you can start refining that, just, putting together your strategy, figuring out what you're going to apply for, making your applications, getting your job, getting into your job. And then at some point you will need a new job. For whatever reason, you will think, okay, I've got to look for something else now. I want the next challenge. And you actually cycle back through this process again. So just try and keep in mind that that's a very natural process. That's what we do across our careers. When you're looking at the direction you might want to go in, this diagram, if you did genetics, 315 that I do at the beginning of the year, if you did that earlier this year, you would have seen me show you, actually talk about some of this already and show you this particular diagram. We developed it for science students out of Holland's career theory around interests. And so it's looking at what is it about work that interests you? We can describe jobs by these 6 characteristics. Do they have a practical component? Are they about thinking and learning and problem solving, more creative, more about helping people, more having influence in making decisions, or perhaps more the organizational side of things? So having a look at this and thinking, I think we're often naturally drawn. You can kind of go, oh yeah, that sounds like me. And then on the next ring out, we've tried to put in some of the skills. This is science broadly, this diagram, but some of the skills that are things that you might have really enjoyed doing within your study or within your time at university, that also help you think about what you're looking for going forward. And then I'm going to give you a link to this at the end of the presentation so you can have a look at it yourself. And then knowing which of those characteristics are most interesting to you and which ones you have the skills for, and then getting an idea of the kinds of roles, so not majors or major specific, but the kind of roles in the work sector that you might be interested in based on that. That QR code, if you're interested, it will take you to a short assessment. It's a short free assessment that you can actually do, which if you want to explore those 6 characteristics in your highest level of interest, and you'll see that again at the end of the slide. Okay, So another thing is looking at your strengths, looking at actually what you're good at. This is my career space. Who can I just have a show of hands? How many people have used my career space or been on here already? Oh, fantastic. Awesome. So if you go into the assessments tab at the top, there is the strengths assessment. If you haven't done it before, it's a good way of looking at your skills. And then don't forget to look at your papers when you're thinking about direction. You know, often you look at your paper description when you enroll, or not even then, because maybe it's compulsory and you have to do it, but go back and look at your papers because they each specify the graduate attributes that are emphasized within that paper and the learning outcomes. So this is a good reminder about actually what you're good at and what you've done. I often talk to students and I say, what'd you do last semester? And they can't even think of their papers because you know it's gone, isn't it? And you're so focused on this year. So go back and have a look at this. Some of this language here, I really like this one actually because it's not just saying, for example, that one of the learning outcomes is developing analytical and problem-solving skills, but also reminding you where you did that. So if you're doing your CV or your application for something, this is really helpful for you in terms of the language that you might use and some examples that you might be able to give a potential employer in an interview process, for example. So that's a good resource for you. This is the World Economic Forum. So now we're looking, okay, what are employers looking for out there? This is through to 2025, which is actually not that far away. What I like about it is the way that they've color-coded it, and you will see that there's only 2 of these skills are actually technology-based, and the rest are the human skills. Okay, so in the old days, they were called the soft skills. Now we say these are the hard skills for today, actually. So problem solving, self-management, and working with people. And you will see when you're starting to look at roles that this is what employers are looking for all the time. And I just put a job ad in here to kind of reinforce that. And so again, when you're exploring what's out there in the world, job ads, even if you're not quite ready to apply, they give you a huge amount of information. So you look at a job and you look at the daily tasks, what it's about, and you might go, oh my gosh, that is so not me. Okay, that's useful information. You can stop looking at those jobs if you figured that one out. And you know, it's just really good way of seeing where you might see yourself in the future. But then this one, same ad, goes on to talk about what they're looking for. Okay, so they are looking for some technical skills and they've outlined that. But then if you come down to the attributes, and if an employer has got a number of applicants with very similar qualifications or experience, the attributes, the personal, transferable human skills are often the things that swing it. Okay, so you need to know what you have. You need to know it's a good match for what they're looking for. And you need to know how to talk about that in your applications. And you can see when you look at attributes, they're pretty much all the human skills. So when you go and look at a job, you have to get across your match with this in the application, or you may not go any further down the process. Okay. So yeah, if you're starting to look for roles, spend some time on job boards. They are gold. Also your skills, those human skills, they can come from everywhere in your life. And it's much better, you have a stronger application if they do come from across your life. Employers in New Zealand really like to see breadth. They like to see that we do things in our spare time, that we've kind of got a good balance. So think about what you do, not just academically, but also in terms of work, in terms of experience, in terms of anything that you do in the volunteer space or the cultural space or whatever it is. And the next tool that's really useful if you're not sure, ask someone. Okay, your friends are really good at picking up the stuff that you're not very good. I don't think we're very good at seeing ourselves objectively. And, you know, our friends are quite good saying, but you're brilliant at this, you know, and we might not see it. So if you're still not sure, ask a couple of friends what they see as your strengths. This is also a good tool. So back into my career space, this one sits under employability, and it's a good assessment for you. It's a self-assessment to look across the board. So you get to kind of look at your career thinking, the work that you've done, and looking at what's ahead, where you're sitting academically, what skills you have, those human skills, all those dark blue ones are sort of the human skills going into the workspace. So those are your transferable skills. And then one of the skills that's really in demand by employers is this emotional intelligence, and that's the green section. So it's quite an interesting exercise, self-review exercise to put yourself through. And you might go, oh my gosh, I need to do some work in this space. I need to build something into my life that will develop these skills. I don't expect yours to look like this because you're at a very early stage in your career yet. So, you may well find that some of them are much nearer the center, and that's perfectly okay. But I think it's just a nice sort of overview for yourself. The other thing that we often talk about with students now is the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and that kind of taps into your values a little bit. So this is you thinking, I've got to go to work, I've got to earn an income, I've got to spend X number of hours of my life actually in a workplace doing something. And wouldn't it be that much better if it's something that fires you up and you feel like you're contributing to something that's important to you? It makes all the difference to turning up each day. And with the majors that you have, you could actually focus on, there's a number of these that might stand out to you. So this is a bit of a personal assessment, but thinking, where would I like to take my degree and make a difference? Okay. I can't remember what my next slide is. Oh, yeah. So looking out at what you need to know, thinking about where do your skills and knowledge fit in the world? Who's actually going to pay you for that? That's quite an important question. So you might have some amazing things you want to do, but that might just have to park it a little bit so you can find someone that will employ you. Where do you need to start looking? Do you know the job boards? Do you know the organizations? Do you know the sector? Have you got enough information to be looking there? What about where graduates before you have gone? What kinds of companies, sectors, organizations, roles have they taken the same qualification as you have? Where have they gone with that? And is there an industry that you particularly want to target? All of that will make a big difference in terms of the work that you do exploring your opportunities. This one I show a lot of people, so if you've heard me speak before, I'm sure you will have seen this, but I just think it's so important to realize from an employer's perspective, if you have a vacancy to fill in your organization, most employers are sitting at the bottom of that triangle. So much easier, less stressful, less expensive, less time consuming if you can appoint someone to the role that you already know in some way. So it could be someone that's done an internship, someone that's in your organization, maybe in another role, but got the necessary qualification, and you know that they have the skills to learn and move. You know they get on and fit well with your team culture. So this is where employers tend to move from. And then it's, well, who else is on your team? Who do they know in their network that they think would be a good fit for your team? And so on upwards. And we see lots of students actually who get involved in professional organizations, even as student members, and that gives them referees, it gives them, opens the doors to opportunities because of who they've met through that space. But most of us start at the top. We're starting with job boards. And often you have to start there because that's the process and that's where the jobs are. But it's kind of the most competitive place to be as well. And this is across your whole career. Okay. This is not just now. You will find that networking and working in that space, getting closer to employers will open opportunities for you all the way forward. So I always give a plug for LinkedIn. We do a LinkedIn webinar every week. Who's using LinkedIn? Good start. LinkedIn is an amazing way to follow companies in the sectors you're interested in. See what they're posting, see some of the latest research, see the issues, see what's happening, engage with people who may be your employers or your colleagues in the future. Think not just about your profile, but actually how you engage on LinkedIn. Because that's part of your reputation, the things that you post, the things you talk about, the things that are important to you. This is what other people are seeing. So we do that weekly webinar on Career Hub every week. It's very introductory. So if you just want to find out about it and get started, that might be a good thing to do. LinkedIn has a tool so you can look at it's Otago's alumni. So you just go onto the Otago University page on LinkedIn and you can search it by your major. And you'll see here, I've just put micro in, and these 1,700 past alumni of Otago, and you can search and see where they live and where they work and the skills that they have, the kind of roles that they have, and just a heap of information that's helping you figure out where you might want to go with the same qualification. Informational interviewing is another really good tool, and this is simply finding people that are in the role or the field or the company that you're interested in and asking them if you can have 5 or 10 minutes of their time and going in with some really good questions. You are interviewing them and you're kind of leveraging off their knowledge and their experience in order to kind of make your own decisions and build your knowledge about different sectors. So really the last thing, I just want to finish up making sure that you know our resources. Otago Career Hub, you can click on jobs there. Hopefully, well, you all know this because you had to come through here to register for tonight anyway. The jobs tab will take you through to New Zealand Uni Talent Job. I'm pretty sure, I think the Pacific Edge application internships are on there as well. That's the job board that's operated by the New Zealand universities. You can book into our events, you can book appointments with us, and then you will see there, I've just circled the link to my career space, which looks like that, and again, has a huge range of tools, learning information, the assessments I've talked about, all of that kind of thing. It also has tools in there for building your CV, for uploading your CV and getting it checked. You can do practice videoing, interviewing on there, etc. So just making sure that you know it's there and make use of it all. This is the New Zealand Uni Talent Job Board, which sits under the Jobs tab there on my career space. Now this is, I'll just put that there. I've set up a Padlet for science students, so just to gradually put lots of things on there. It's across the board for all sciences, but put things on there that I think might be helpful for you. So if you want to grab the QR code, you're going to do the post the recording somewhere, or if you get lost, just email me and I'll send you the code or the link to it. But we'll try and keep adding stuff and building on it. It's just new this year, but it seems like a really good place to share stuff. And that's about it, really. Just making sure that you know we're there. You can book appointments with myself or my colleagues, so you've got qualified career advisors at your disposal. So that's an opportunity to talk about your own figuring everything else. The webinars on Career Hub, we do all the grad recruitment expo, etc. That's me.